I have a universe of atoms in me, yet I am just an atom in the universe. Hello, my dear students. Welcome to the second chapter of 11th class, which is very important from the knowledge point as well as from the examination point. All other chapters depend on this chapter. Name of the chapter is Anatomy of an Atom. What is an anatomy? Anatomy is a study of the structure of something. In this chapter, we study the structure of atoms. So it is called anatomy of an atom. For this, we have to move into the world of atoms. See the world into the world of atoms. Before proceeding into this chapter, let us recall what is matter. Anything that has mass and occupies space is matter. This we learned from 6th class. Our Indian Maharshi Kanad said Paramanu is the ultimate particle of matter. At the same time, John Dalton conducted several experiments on the nature of matter and proposed a theory famously known as Dalton's atomic theory. It enjoyed nearly 100 years, but it could not explain all the properties of matter. That doesn't mean that Dalton's atomic theory is wrong. Everything has got its own limitations. So we need another modified theory for understanding atoms more. Why Dalton's atomic theory could not explain all the properties of matter? Why Dalton's atomic theory could not explain the stability of atoms? Because it was suffering from some drawbacks. It has its own limitations and demerits. Let us know the drawbacks of Dalton's atomic theory. Drawback number 1. An atom is the fundamental indivisible particle of matter. Here, the word indivisible is the major drawback of Dalton's atomic theory because we are living in the world of electrons, which are the part of atoms. Modern chemistry proved that an atom is divisible into three fundamental or subatomic particles, namely pen particles. PEN, pen particles. P stands for proton, E stands for electron, and N for neutron. That means what John Dalton said was indivisibility proved wrong. So nowadays atom is divisible into three fundamental particles. Drawback number 2. Atoms of an element are identical in all respect. This is not 100% true. Why? In the case of isotopes, when the isotopes are discovered, this point proved wrong. Isotopes are the atoms of same element having same atomic number but different mass number. That means isotopes of an element, though they are atoms of same element, but they differ in mass. Identical in all respect is proved wrong. For example, carbon has two isotopes, carbon 12 and carbon 14. Atomic masses of these two is the same, but their masses are different. Carbon 14 is slightly heavier than carbon 12. In the same way, this holds good for all the isotopes of elements. Drawback number 3. Drawback number 3. This is the drawback number 3. Atoms of different elements are different in all respect. This also proved wrong when isobars are discovered. Isobars are the atoms of different elements having same mass number but different atomic number. Best example is argon and calcium. Here argon and calcium are atoms of different elements but they have similar mass number. Hence, let us understand in detail the structure of atoms where drawbacks of Dalton's atomic theories are rectified and will undergo a different atmosphere of atoms. But remember what John Dalton said is an atom is the smallest particle that takes part in the chemical reactions is 100% true. It is the philosophy of chemistry. Breakthrough between 1800 and 1900. Between 1800 and 1900, many scientists were busy in understanding about the structure of atoms. When we rub plastic scale and bring near small piece of paper, plastic scale attracts a small piece of paper. This indicates existence of charge in atom. Michael Faraday too conducted several experiments on electrochemistry and electromagnetism and revealed the fact of existence of charge in an atom. But officially it was announced by J.J. Thomson after conducting his experiment on discharge of electricity through gases. Friends, we know that gases are insulators. Air is an insulator. But we can make gases to conduct electricity under some conditions. J.J. Thomson did the same thing. Now we will understand J.J. Thomson's discharge of electricity through gases experiment. The great scientist J.J. Thomson, who was given Nobel Prize for his work on discharge tube experiment. This is our discharge tube experiment. It is, you can imagine, like normal glass tube having two electrodes. Electrode which is connected to the negative terminal of a source behaves like cathode, whereas electrode which is connected to the positive terminal of a source behaves like a anode. So this is cathode, this is anode. These two are fixed to the discharge tube or a normal cathode ray tube. Televisions works on the cathode ray tube. They are popularly called what? CRT, cathode ray tube. Now we have modified hi-fi, LCD, LED, plasma, and etc. But the beginning of television started from cathode ray tube, which is the base of J. Thomson's experiment. Now, this discharge tube is connected to the vacuum pump. Purpose is to create condition here inside the discharge tube. Here he has took some sample of gas. Gases exerts pressure, we all know. So where there is a gas, there is a pressure. Best example is what? Our atmosphere. Atmosphere contains many gases. All those gases exert pressure, and because of the pressure, atmospheric pressure, which is equal to 760 millimeter mercury. Now here he was doing one small experiment on gases. He was creating two important conditions on the gas which is present inside the discharge tube. Condition number one was he was decreasing the pressure. How he was decreasing? Using this vacuum pump, when you suck out or when you remove amount of gas inside the discharge tube, that means you are decreasing the pressure. Less the amount of gas, less is the pressure. More the amount of gas, more is the pressure. So amount of gas is directly proportional to the pressure. So by decreasing the amount of gas, he was decreasing the pressure. He was decreasing so low that he said in his paper, the pressure inside the discharge tube was 0.001 millimeter mercury. You can compare this data with the atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure is 760 millimeter mercury. Now you compare 760 millimeter mercury with 0.001 millimeter mercury, 10 to the power of minus 3. So low. That's why I have shown here air at very low pressure. which is equal to 0.001 millimeter mercury. At the same time, he was putting one more condition. He was applying a high voltage of 10 to 11,000 volts. So a gas was under two extreme conditions, very low pressure and very high voltage. Because of this, some kind of invisible rays started coming from cathode and they were started moving towards the anode. How he told that they were moving from the cathode to the anode? Here, this side, he placed this inside the discharge tube, some chemical, a chemical which is fluorescent in nature. Fluorescent chemical is the one which glows when rays strikes on the screen. So this was coated with some important chemical which has the property of a fluorescent. Best example is zinc sulfide. So by coating this with zinc sulfide, he made this as a screen, and here he made some small holes. These are called perforations. So this is called perforated anode. So when the conditions are maintained, very low pressure and high voltage, invisible rays started striking. That means he could notice shining on this area. That means some invisible rays are coming from cathode and they were moving towards the anode. This is one important he noticed in the discharge tube. Now we will understand some important properties told by J.J. Thomson. Here are the properties of cathode rays. Cathode rays are invisible rays start from cathode and move towards the anode. Why they move towards the anode? We know that like charges repel each other and unlike charges attract each other. The knowledge of attracting, repelling charges on electricity was known during Thomson time. So when cathode rays are moving towards anode, that means they are made from what? Negative charge. So he told the second property. Cathode rays are beams of tiny negatively charged particles called electrons. So he named the negatively charged particles present in the cathode rays as electrons. So the discovery of electron credit goes to J.J. Thomson. It is the J.J. Thomson who discovered electron, first particle of an atom. Third property, in the absence of electrical or magnetic field, these rays travel in straight line. When you apply electrical and magnetic field, their path is deviated, deflected, but in the absence, they travel straight. How he came to the conclusion that cathode rays start traveling in straight line? He placed here in between the cathode and the anode where they were traveling a small opaque object. So when cathode rays traveled via opaque object, shadow was casted here. So when the shadow was casted, he concluded that they travel in a straight line because this is a property of light. This is known as rectilinear propagation of light, which is studied in the physics. So because of shadow on this side, he concluded that cathode rays travel in a straight line. Next property, cathode rays possess kinetic energy. How? Now here he has placed a small light pedal like a small wheel here. When cathode rays hit this small wheel started rotating in the clockwise direction. That means because of their energy, it is transferred to the mechanical part of the cathode rays. Energy transferred to the wheel started rotating. That means cathode rays possess energy, kinetic energy responsible for the movement. Now this is the most important property of cathode rays. What he made? He changed the electrode, nature of electrode, maybe carbon electrode, graphite electrode, or some other metallic electrode. So he changed the electrodes. He also changed the gas inside. So by changing the gas, by changing the electrode, he noticed the properties of cathode rays. He found that cathode rays are the same. They have the same property, irrespective of the nature of electrode, irrespective of the nature of the gas taken inside the tube. The properties are the same. That means cathode rays are rays which are made from negatively charged electrons, and electrons are having same nature whether you take any gas or any electrode. So cathode rays are independent of the nature of material and nature of the gas. That means electrons are independent of the nature of the material or the nature of the gas. You take any gas, you take any material, electrons are the same. That is what? Electrons are the universal particles of matter or atoms. That's why we can conclude that electrons are basic constituent and the fundamental part of all atoms. This is the conclusion from the J. Thomson's experiment. Thank you, my dear students.